The language of the soul is clear to everyone. It is the language of things made with love and desire. When a person goes to his goal through his door, that is, he truly does his job, he creates masterpieces. This is how what is called art is born. Who are these golden people? There is a version that they are the guardians of the galaxy. Although on planet Earth they are just living statues that can stay for hours without moving. Everything around moves, spins, rotates, and they just contemplate the world. At the end of the 14th century in Sweden, a body was found in one of the mines, casting a golden sheen. There are many versions about this. It all comes down to one thing, that people with golden skin really met on Earth indefinitely. They came from other dimensions, time and even planets. When we walk down the street, we see sculptures and monuments. For a moment, imagine that all this came to life. A fairy tale? No, this is reality. The appearance of the Golden Director characters gives the opportunity to see this fairy tale and learn their true stories. I learned how to bring statues to life. Some say I'm a magician, others say I'm Count Cagliostro, and I just like to give people what they once had. Childhood. Touch and the fairy tale will come to life. In 1943, an experiment was set up by the Nazi organization on an airba in one of the castles of the planet. The theme of the experiment is the effect of laughter on people. A French director was invited for the story, but during the experiment, something went wrong and an explosion occurred. After the explosion, one person, an officer of an airba, survived. The Golden Director was a mystery shrouded in gold. The statue was lost for centuries. Many were looking for it, but it always remained out of reach. 1999 Pyramids of the Incas. The officer finds a piece of stone, which depicts a tribe of Indians worshipping a golden statue. And so, when the Ananarba officer brought the statue to Barcelona, the city buzzed with excitement. People whispered in hushed tones about the legend of the Golden Director and the strange powers he possessed. But then something unexpected happened. As the officer was walking through the airport with the statue in tow, a little boy ran up to him and started laughing uncontrollably. At first, the officer was puzzled, but then he noticed that something strange was happening to the statue. His eyes began to glow, and his fingers twitched slightly. And then, to the shock of everyone at the airport, the statue came to life. The officer was stunned. He had never seen anything like it before. But as he watched in amazement, the Golden Director began to speak. He was awakened by the laughter of a little boy, and now he was ready to go on a new adventure. So, the officer and the Golden Director set off on a journey that will take them to the farthest corners of the world. They explored ancient ruins and mysterious tombs, fought ferocious monsters and encountered strange and wonderful creatures. And through it all, the Golden Director remained a constant companion, offering guidance and wisdom as they journeyed always forward. But as they traveled, the officer began to realize that the Golden Director is more than meets the eye. He began to suspect that the statue was not just a symbol of immortality, but a living, breathing being with its own desires and goals. And so, as they approached the end of their journey, the officer was faced with a difficult decision. Should he keep searching for the key to immortality, or should he let the Golden Director follow his destiny? In the end, the officer chose to follow his heart, and he parted ways with the Golden Director. But he knew the statue would always be with him, a reminder of the incredible journey they had shared and a testament to the power of laughter and the magic of the unknown. This is how the adventures of the Golden Director began. A spotlight shines on the stage, and a hunchbacked artist comes forward. His name is Antoine, but the world knows him as the Hunchback. He looks to the audience with a twinkle in his eye, ready to tell his story. Antoine was born into a royal family, but fate had other plans for him. He was stolen as a baby and raised in a circus where he was made hunchback to make him weirder. But Antoine did not let his physical deformity deter him. He became the most famous artist in the world, loved by everyone who saw him perform. Antoine was once immortalized with a life-sized sculpture. But the story doesn't end there. Sometimes the hunchback comes to life and tells his story. He tells the history of mankind, the struggle between good and evil, and his own journey from stolen royal baby to beloved circus performer. The stories of the hunchback are fascinating and full of wisdom. He encourages his audience to question their own beliefs and look beyond the surface of things. Is he a jester who amuses the masses with his tales? Or is he a king who gives knowledge and leads his subjects to a better understanding of the world around them? As the hunchback takes his final bow and the curtains close, the audience is left to ponder the lessons they have learned. Perhaps, like Antoine, we too can rise above our circumstances and become the best version of ourselves. There are many places on planet Earth with high energy and power. Our story begins with Britain. This island was called the Isle of the Mighty, and not without reason. Gideon, the creator of illusions, was born and lived in Wales. Gideon went to study other magic. He performed in the squares of cities, at the courts of the nobility. His children loved him very much. One day, Gideon found an artifact that could open portals and allow time travel. Having met with the commander, the wizard decided to experiment, and accidentally turned himself and him into monuments. The spell that he cast sometimes revived the wizard, and he could move around and look for a miracle. The wizard Gideon spent centuries as a lifeless statue, standing in the same place where he became a monument. His children, long gone, have become legends, and his story has been lost in time. But the magic of the artifact he found continued to pulsate inside him, slowly but surely awakening the wizard's consciousness. As the centuries passed, Gideon began to dream, and his dreams took him on fantastic journeys to distant lands and through different eras. He dreamed of dragons, unicorns, and other mythical creatures that had long since disappeared from the world. And every time he woke up, he was filled with a new sense of wonder and magic. One day, a young girl named Emily stumbled upon a statue of Gideon while exploring the countryside. She noticed something unusual about the statue and decided to touch it. As soon as she did so, a bright light enveloped her, and she found herself next to the wizard, who was revived by her touch. Gideon was overjoyed to be alive again and grateful to Emily for freeing him from the stone prison. He decided to repay her kindness by showing her the magic of his artifact and sending her on a journey through time and space. Together they explored ancient civilizations, witnessed historical battles and even traveled to other planets. Emily became Gideon's apprentice, and he taught her everything he knew about magic and illusion. They continued to travel together, spreading wonder and joy wherever they went. Gideon was happy that he had found a new purpose in life, and Emily was delighted that she had a new friend who could take her with him on the most incredible adventures imaginable. Go down into the hold and bring an artifact that could bring immortality. Having descended into the hold, the commander turned to stone and turned into a statue. If the commander finds the time, then he will become a living person again, said the sorcerer and disappeared. Unfortunately, as the years passed, the search for time did not yield results. The commander remained a lifeless statue, forgotten in the depths of the ship's hold. Decades turned into centuries, and a ship that once sailed the seas now stood abandoned in a forgotten corner of the port. The city of the sun has long been turned into ruins, and the stories of the brave commander have turned into myths and legends. But one day a young girl stumbled upon the old ship. She was attracted to the statue of the commander, captivated by his noble face and the sense of history that surrounded him. She vowed to uncover the truth of his story and bring him back to life. With fierce determination, the girl went in search of the sorcerer who enchanted the commander. She traveled to distant lands, overcoming treacherous storms and facing incredible trials. And finally, after many years, she found a sorcerer living alone in a cave deep in the mountains. The sorcerer was surprised to see the girl, and even more surprised to learn about the fate of the commander. But he remembered his promise and told the girl how to remove the spell. She needs to find a rare flower that only blooms once every 100 years. And with the pollen of this flower, she was supposed to wake the commander from his stone sleep. The girl went on her last journey, deciding to find a flower and save the commander. And after many hardships and trials, she found him growing on the edge of an abyss that towers over the sea. With trembling hands, she collected the pollen and returned to the ship. And there, with one touch, she awakened the commander from his long sleep. He gasped, taking a deep breath of air, and looked around in surprise. The girl smiled, tears streaming down her face. She made it. She brought the commander back to life. Together they left the ship and stepped out into the sunlight, the first living things to do so in centuries. The city of the sun had already crumbled to dust for a long time, but at that moment it seemed to the commander and the girl that they were standing at the dawn of a new era. A new era of adventure and discovery and, above all, hope. Lady Morgana was born in England as a healer and sorceress. She was the daughter of an adventurer and treasure hunter. Growing up, Lady Morgana left the old world and went in search of her missing father. One day she found a diary about the commander's travels. And she went in the footsteps of the commander to Hamburg. She did not find the commander, but she saved the kitten and named him Glinka in honor of her favorite composer. When Morgana found the commander, he turned out to be a sculpture. Lady Morgana wanted to disenchant him, but everything turned out to be not so simple. Helping the commander, Morgana and her cat Glinka fell under the spell of the artifact that the commander had and became sculptures themselves. And now, sometimes, the commander, Lady Morgana and Glinka come to life in order to tell their story about who bewitched everyone. In the old city of Hamburg, amidst the majesty of its architecture and the noise of bustling streets, 3 statues stood frozen in time. Lady Morgana, healer and sorceress, stood with outstretched hand, as if casting a spell. The commander, a brave naval officer, stood tall and stoic, his hand on the hilt of his sword. And on his shoulder sat the mischievous cat Glinka, wagging his tail back and forth. Their story was full of adventure, magic, and mystery. Lady Morgana has traveled the world in search of her missing father, but instead finds herself on her way to breaking a powerful spell. The commander, once a hero on the high seas, was turned to stone by an artifact that promised him immortality. And Glinka, a faithful comrade, was transformed along with them. But even as statues, they were not forgotten. Visitors to the city would stop and stare at them, wondering about their history and the magic that had frozen them in time. And sometimes in the silence of the night they came to life, and the spell fell off for just a moment. Lady Morgana stretches her fingers and looks around in surprise. The commander takes a deep breath of fresh air, and Glinka jumps off his shoulder and runs into the night. Their story continued, a tale of adventure and mystery that captivated all who heard it. In the enchanting realm of an old house, a wizard dwelled, wise and profound. Within his abode, secrets did he keep, where magic whispered, ancient and deep. One fateful day, a spirit arose, emerging amidst the wizard's repose. Confusion befell the wise sorcerer's mind, as he pondered who intruded, undefined. The enigmatic presence played tricks, unseen, within the confines of the wizard's routine. Perplexed, the wizard placed his suitcase outside, hoping the elusive spirit would thus abide. Unleashed from its hiding, the spirit took flight, hovering and swirling, suspended in light. Yet the wizard, resourceful, devised a cunning plan, to capture this essence with his magical hand. A trap he did conjure, both cunning and sly, and the spirit, unaware, succumbed with a sigh. Caught in midair, it froze in its stance, transformed into art by the wizard's advance. Thus emerged a sculpture, born of mystical lore, the dwarf junk, a testament to spirits obscure. It embodied the essence of bygone tales, a guardian of antiques, where history prevails. Its form, solidified, stood frozen in time, a blend of ethereal grace and the sublime. Eyes gleaming with secrets, its aura transcendent, a guardian of treasures, forever resplendent. The dwarf junk, spirit of antiques it was named, a whimsical creation that the wizard had claimed. An artwork imbued with enigmatic might, symbolizing the fusion of magic and light. Its presence whispered stories of long ago, of forgotten relics and tales to bestow. Mysteries untangled, forgotten memories revived, in the presence of this sculpture, souls thrived. And so, in the old house, the dwarf junk stood, a silent sentinel, misunderstood. A testament to the wizard's artistry, a glimpse into a world of enchanting mystery. For in the wizard's abode, where magic prevailed, the dwarf junk thrived, its legend unveiled. A guardian of antiquity, forever entwined, in the artist's tale, both unique and kind. In the crowded and lively city, there was a hidden world, the Court of Miracles. Here gypsies, beggars and other outcasts of society found a home. Among them was a young girl named Esmeralda who, despite her surroundings, radiated innocence and purity. Esmeralda knew she wasn't born into the gypsy tribe that raised her, and her heart longed to find her real mother. The only link she had to her past was an amulet around her neck that contained a tiny embroidered slipper, the only family heirloom she had inherited from her real mother. Despite the fact that she had to make a living dancing, Esmeralda's chastity and naivety remained intact. Her beauty and kind heart attracted many suitors, including the dashing Captain Phoebus and the brooding hunchback Quasimodo. As Esmeralda searched for her mother, she became embroiled in a dangerous web of intrigue and betrayal, with the corrupt Justice Minister Claude Frollo ruthlessly pursuing her. But Esmeralda's good heart and unwavering spirit shone as she remained true to herself and fought for justice and freedom. Ultimately, Esmeralda's search for her mother led to a stunning discovery that changed her life forever. And although her path was full of danger and grief, she became a shining symbol of hope and love in a world full of darkness and despair. A long time ago in Ireland, a family of green gold leprechauns lived in a fairy tale forest. The family was engaged in the manufacture of outlandish shoes for fairies. Todd was the smallest leprechaun in the family. He always dreamed of seeing the world with his own eyes and assessing for himself what the wonders of the world are really worth. Once he was told that they saw a magical sculpture made of real gold that either comes to life or freezes and can stand like this for several hours until you say hello to it. Todd's eyes lit up, His mouth parted and stretched into a smile from ear to ear. At the same moment, taking the happy grandfather's shoe for good luck, he went in search of a golden man. Todd, the smallest leprechaun, left his home in the fairy forest in search of a magical sculpture made of real gold. He walked through the forest, over hills and valleys, past streams and rivers, through fields of clover. Along the way, he met many creatures, including a talking owl, a mischievous fairy, and a friendly giant. After many days of walking, Todd finally reached the edge of the vast desert. He had heard that the Golden Man was somewhere in the desert, but he didn't know where to start looking. As he stood there contemplating what to do next, he saw a caravan of camels passing by. The caravan was led by a wise old man who seemed to know the desert well. Todd went up to the old man and asked if he knew where the Golden Man was. The old man smiled and said, "Yes, I know where he is. But you must be careful, because a ferocious dragon guards the Golden Man." Todd was scared but determined to see the Golden Man. He thanked the old man and continued on his way. Passing through the desert, he saw in the distance a dragon guarding a Golden Man. Todd knew he had to be very careful. He slowly approached the dragon, holding out his grandfather's shoe as a token of goodwill. The dragon sniffed the boot and then looked at Todd with its fiery eyes. Suddenly the dragon's eyes softened and he bowed his head in recognition. Todd approached the Golden Man, admiring his beauty. He gently touched it, and to his surprise, the Golden Man came to life. They talked for hours, and Todd learned a lot about the world beyond his forest home. Finally, as the sun began to set, Todd said goodbye to the Golden Man and went home. He knew that he would never forget his wilderness adventure and the lessons he learned along the way. When he returned to the fairy forest, his family and friends were amazed at the stories he told them. Todd became a hero, and his grandfather's shoe brought him all the luck he needed to complete his quest. In the mystical hills of Ireland, lived a mischievous leprechaun named Grandfather Nicodem. With a long white beard and twinkling eyes, he was known for his love of adventure and ancient tales. Every day, Grandfather Nicodem explored the beauty of Ireland, sharing stories with woodland creatures. One day, he discovered a hidden glen and stepped through a magical archway into the realm of the fairy folk. There, he danced with fairies, enchanted by their songs and kindness. They gifted him a shamrock of wishes, sealing their eternal friendship. Returning to Ireland, Grandfather Nicodem embarked on a quest for hidden treasure. Alongside other leprechauns, they delved into ancient ruins and scaled cliffs, discovering not just gold but a deeper connection to their heritage. Word of his adventures spread, and people flocked to hear his stories. Grandfather Nicodem became a legend, a symbol of magic and wonder. And so, the legend of Leprechaun Grandfather Nicodem lived on, reminding all to embrace life's enchantment and seek adventure wherever it may be found. In one city there lived an alchemist, and once he brewed beer. The inhabitants of the city liked this beer so much that they created a legend about the brewer. It says that one day a magician entered the city. The brewer dreamed of creating a barrel of endless beer and asked to meet the wizard to tell him this dream. As soon as they made a pact, the beer poured out of the barrel and soon flooded the city. The brewer had to act quickly to save the city, so he used his alchemy skills to turn an endless barrel of beer into a magnificent fountain that stood in the very center of the city. People were amazed by the fountain, and it has become a popular spot for both locals and tourists. Years passed, and the brewer became a favorite in the city. He sat by the fountain and chatted to passers-by, sharing stories and jokes over a pint of his famous beer. But one day the brewer disappeared without a trace. People searched everywhere, but he was nowhere to be found. They feared the worst and thought he might turn back into a statue. However, one day, a group of children playing near the fountain noticed something unusual. The water in the fountain turned into beer, just like in the beginning. Looking closer, they saw the faint figure of a man in the center of the fountain. It was a brewer forever immortalized in the very beer he created. The townspeople were both saddened and grateful. They realized that the brewer had given them a gift that would last for generations. So they continued to gather around the fountain, sharing stories and jokes, just like the brewer did in life. In the heart of the snowy Alps lived the Krampus family, who every Christmas went to the neighboring town to scare naughty children with Santa Claus. But one member of the family, Krampus Pampus, was different from the rest. He had a strong sense of justice and a deep love for defenseless beings. One winter day, wandering through the forest, Krampus Pampus stumbled upon a white doe caught in a trap. Without thinking twice, he freed the helpless animal, and, to his surprise, the doe turned into a beautiful girl. Krampus Pampus was captivated by her beauty and kind heart, and they quickly fell in love with each other. But their happiness was short-lived. One day, when they were walking, a sudden snowstorm hit them, and the white doe disappeared without a trace. In his grief, Krampus Pampus turned to stone, frozen in a moment of heartbreak. For centuries, Krampus Pampus remained locked in its stone form and only came to life at Christmas in search of its lost love, the white doe. Children who spot him wandering the snowy landscape often mistake him for a monster, but in fact he is the protector of all that is good and just, longing to be reunited with his true love again. And so the legend of Krampus Pampus lives on, the symbol of love, justice, and the magic of Christmas. In a quiet village located in the Alps, there once lived a Krampus named Freebie, also known as Freebie. Unlike his fellow Krampus, he was a troublemaker who always got away with his pranks. However, there was one thing that Freebie truly loved, besides the fact that she caused trouble: music. Wherever he went, Freebie carried his guitar with him, playing and singing tunes as he roamed the village. His unbridled and carefree nature often got him into trouble, but his music always seemed to calm even the most angry villager. One day, Freebie met Pampus, another Krampus who shared his love of adventure and finding the white doe. They went to the nearest forest with their guitars strapped to their backs and their hearts full of excitement. Going deeper into the forest, they stumbled upon a trap with a white fallow deer caught inside. Freebie and Pampus worked together to free the creature, and to their amazement, the doe grew into a beautiful woman. Freebie was struck by the beauty of the woman and her love for music. All day, they played songs and sang together, immersed in the joy of their music and newfound love. But as the sun began to set, a blizzard suddenly arose, and the white doe disappeared into the snow. Freebie desperately searched for her, but soon found himself turning to stone, just like Pampus many years ago. Despite fate, Freebie's love for music never faded. Every year at Christmas he came alive again with a guitar in his hand, playing the best hits of rock music for the whole village. Although he remained a troublemaker, the joy he brought with his music made him beloved by all who knew him. In a dark and impregnable castle, hidden deep in a dense forest, lived an evil sorcerer named Sinterklaas. He was a twisted and malevolent figure feared by all who knew of him, and his dark powers were known throughout the country. Santa Claus has always been a hermit, shrouded in mystery and mystery. But as his powers grew stronger, so did his thirst for power and dominance. He began to go out into the nearby villages, spreading fear and terror wherever he went. People whispered about his dark deeds, about his ability to command the forces of nature and subordinate them to his will. They talked about his minions, twisted and corrupted beings who did his bidding and catered to his every whim. But, despite the fear he inspired, there were those who dared to confront Santa Claus. A small group of rebels came together, united in their determination to overthrow the sorcerer and put an end to his reign of terror. The rebels knew they were facing a formidable enemy whose strength was beyond their comprehension. But they also knew they had the power of conviction and the knowledge that they were fighting for something bigger than themselves. With courage and determination, the rebels launched an attack on the castle of Santa Claus, fighting their way through his minions and taking on the sorcerer himself in an epic final battle. In the end, the rebels won. Santa Claus was defeated, his strength broken, and his castle destroyed. The people rejoiced, and the earth was again filled with hope and light. But the memory of Santa Claus lingers, a reminder of the dangers lurking in the shadows and the power of evil to corrupt even the most powerful and gifted among us. Santa Claus' story became an instructive one, warning all who attempted to follow in his dark footsteps. A talented writer from Missouri, has always been drawn to the beautiful ships that come to her cities. One day, while watching an approaching steamship, she found a book with a poem about the Golden Director's universe. When she opened it, the pages began to glow, and she turned into a sculpture. Years later, when she was revived, she shared some weighty secrets with people that they must whisper. She also recited a few lines from the poem about yesterday's mistakes and wounds being healed by the healing that the night brings. She said that sadness never dies, and how autumn seemed to cry for her, the best lover of autumn days. She even recited a beautiful verse about how she stood in the morning dew and sang her first beat sweetly as a lark sings to touch and taste the cleaner air. Katerina's words were so powerful and inspiring that people gathered around her sculpture to listen to her quotes and poems. Her legacy lived on in her words, which touched the hearts of all who heard them. And every time a ship came to the port, people remembered Katerina and her love for the beauty of the sea. In the heart of Vienna lived a man named Wolfgang von Kempelen. He was known as a man of science and innovation, always striving to push the boundaries of what was possible. One day, he came up with an idea that captured the imagination of the whole world. He set to work on a project unlike anything anyone had ever seen, an automaton that could play chess. It was a difficult task, but he put all his knowledge and skills into the project, determined to create something that would amaze the world. Finally, after several months of work, it was ready. The automaton was a life-size wax figure of a man in Turkish clothes sitting at a chessboard on a wooden box. Von Kempelen invited the public to come and see his creation. As people gathered around, he opened the doors of the box to reveal an intricate mechanism of cogs and gears, each carefully designed to make the automaton move and play chess. The crowd marveled at the intricate detail and skill required to make such a machine. Then the doors were closed, and the mechanism was wound up with a key. A chess game began, and the automaton began to move its pieces with amazing dexterity and speed. The audience was amazed that she played against some of the best chess players in the world and emerged victorious. Von Kempelen's creation was called the Turk, and people around the world loved it because it had amazing abilities. Deep in the heart of a mystical forest, there stood a statue of a long-forgotten king named Mind Dog. Legends whispered of his valor in battle and his unwavering devotion to his kingdom. It was said that King Mindog's spirit was so strong that it had fused with a stone, giving birth to a living statue. Generations passed, and the legend of the living statue spread far and wide. Travelers from distant lands ventured into the forest, hoping to catch a glimpse of this wondrous phenomenon. They spoke of a statue that would come to life under the light of the full moon, granting wisdom to those deemed worthy. One night, as the full moon bathed the forest in its silvery glow, a young wanderer named Lara stumbled upon the fabled statue. She had heard tales of King Mindog's benevolence and sought guidance for a decision that weighed heavily on her heart. Hesitant, Lara approached the statue and spoke of her dilemma, pouring out her hopes and fears. To her astonishment, the statue's eyes flickered with life, and a deep voice resonated in her mind. It was the voice of King Mindog, speaking directly to her. The king's voice carried the weight of centuries, filled with wisdom and compassion. He listened intently to Lara's tale and offered her advice that struck at the core of her being. His words were like a soothing balm, guiding her toward a path of righteousness and self-discovery. News of Lara's encounter with the living statue spread like wildfire, drawing crowds of people seeking solace, guidance, and inspiration. Each person brought their own troubles and dilemmas, and King Mindog, through his living statue, provided counsel, imbued with the lessons of his reign. The statue's presence became a beacon of hope in the troubled times. People journeyed from far and wide, their hearts filled with anticipation, seeking the king's guidance. Some came seeking advice on matters of the heart, while others sought wisdom for matters of governance and leadership. And so, the living statue of King Mindog became a trusted counselor for all who sought its guidance. As time went on, the statue's influence reached beyond the borders of the forest. The kingdom prospered, and its people grew wise and just, drawing inspiration from the lessons imparted by the living statue. King Mindog's legacy lived on, not just in the tales of his valor, but also in the hearts and minds of those who had been touched by his living presence. To this day, the legend of the living statue of King Mindog endures, reminding people of the power of wisdom, compassion, and the potential for greatness that lies within each of us. It stands as a testament to the enduring spirit of a noble king and the transformative power of hope, even in the most unlikely of forms. High on the top of a hill overlooking the city, stood a majestic statue of Francisque Scarina, one of the most famous humanists and printers of the Renaissance. The statue was a tall figure, its outstretched arms reaching out to the sky in a gesture of awe and wonder. The statue was a masterpiece of art and engineering, crafted from the finest marble and sculpted with incredible precision and detail. His features were realistic and expressive, reflecting the spirit and vitality of the man he honored. As visitors approached the statue, they were struck by its imposing appearance and the sense of awe it inspired. Many silently stood before him, immersed in their thoughts, reflecting on the legacy of this great man and his influence on the world of literature and knowledge. But the statue was more than just a work of art or a monument to a historical figure. It was a symbol of the power of ideas and the enduring importance of intellectual curiosity and creativity. As the sun set over the city, the statue took on a new life, illuminated by a warm light that seemed to come from within. His stone features softened and became almost human, as if the spirit of Francisque Scarina somehow filled the statue with its vitality and energy. Thus, the statue of Francisque Scarina became a testament to the power of human ingenuity and the enduring legacy of those who dedicated their lives to the pursuit of knowledge and the development of the human spirit. Pedestrians must be loved. Pedestrians make up the majority of humanity. Moreover, the best part of it, Adam Kazimirovich Kozlevich was a legend in the world of racing. His driving prowess was unparalleled, and his name was known throughout the racing community as a true master of his craft. But as he got older, Adam began to feel like his time behind the wheel was coming to an end. He yearned for a new challenge, something that would push him beyond his driving ability. And so he turned to the Rain Dietrich New Antelope, the machine that had been his faithful companion for so many years. He decided to take the car on a journey unlike any other, taking it to the ends of the world in search of adventure and excitement. For several months, Adam led the wildebeest through deserts and mountains, through jungles and frozen tundra. Along the way, he encountered countless problems, from mechanical failures to treacherous road conditions. But despite everything, Adam remained undaunted. His spirit was stronger than ever, and his love for the wildebeest only grew stronger every day. And then one day something strange happened. As Adam was driving through a remote desert, he came across an ancient temple hidden in the sands. Without hesitation, Adam herded the wildebeest into the temple, wanting to explore its mysteries. But when he got out of the car, he felt a strange sensation, as if he was being drawn to something deep inside the temple. And then everything turned black. When Adam woke up, he found himself turned to stone. Now he was a statue frozen in time for all eternity. But even as a statue, Adam's spirit remained unbroken. His love for the new antelope never waned, and he continued to look after the car, keeping it safe and sound at all times. And so the legend of Adam Kazimirovich Kozlevich lived, inspiring drivers around the world to go beyond what they considered possible. For, even as a statue, he remained a true driver, a master of his craft and a hero to all who shared his love of open roads. And in the very depths of the Golden Director's universe, where time and space merge into an inextricable unity, characters from fairy tales live. They are imbued with magic and inspiration, each with their own unique destiny and unforgettable adventures. Where the stars twinkle brighter and the colors are more vibrant, there lives a true hero, forever fighting for justice and goodness. His sword sparkles in the sun, and his heart is full of determination and courage. He is always ready to stand up for the weak and unfairly offended, risking his fate in the name of ideals. Next to him is a princess with beauty, dignity and unshakable fortitude. She paved her own path, illuminating the world with her tenderness and love. With every step, she proves that the ability to forgive and find peace in the heart is true strength. The stories of these characters intertwine, creating a mosaic of incredible adventures and wonderful encounters. Evil retreats before the power of their rapprochement, and friendship and solidarity turn into an indestructible union. Death has no power over them, their souls are strengthened by the undying fire of passions and integrity. And so, in the universe of the Golden Director, the characters continue their unforgettable journey. They are not just heroes of fairy tales, they inspire us to be better, to dream and believe in miracles. May your stories be filled with magic and enchantment, and may your journey in the Golden Director's universe be full of adventure and unforgettable moments. And let every page of your life become part of this eternal fairy tale.